So Steve, tell if anybody hasn't been to PAX U, what is PAX U?
PAX U is probably the East Coast version, as close as we get to a big tabletop gaming con. It is big. It's not Gen Con big. It's not
big,
Spiel big, but it's big. And it takes over at least maybe 1/3 to 1/2 of the Pennsylvania Convention Center in Philly. You're talking tens of thousands of people.
Yeah, 25,000 roughly tickets, badges
a
day, right?
Ballpark, and it's hard to tell if it's gone up or down because things have been, in flux because of COVID and people recovering.
So what people may not know, Steve, is that New York doesn't actually have a big board game convention, even though it's the biggest city in America. They consider PAX U their kind of local convention, right?
PAX U is East Coast, right? So with Philly, you've got DC within striking distance. You've got New York, Boston with a longer drive, but everybody from New York down to Washington could day trip into Philly.
Why aren't y'all just day tripping to Montreal or Vancouver? It's right there across the border, man.
Yeah, it's exactly as you say. You're so smart and educated when it comes to
right across the border. All right, so that is the East Coast home con. It started. I mean, literally, they just started it up, and within 3 years, it was 25,000 people. Same size or bigger than Origins. But what we're really interested in is the games. I know you're going to see some people, and hopefully you'll see some friends. But you're down there to kind of talk to some of the publishers and see that. Oh, look, there's Berkey checking in. Berkey, we were just talking about the Baseball Highlights tournament. So told Philip, thank you. It was awesome seeing Berkey. And actually, I got to play, besides Baseball Highlights, I also got to play Heat with him, and that was a hoot. So
it was great, but difficult seeing your updates. It was good seeing all the people that you were seeing and all the cool stuff you were doing, but then I was like, and I'm here.
And I didn't post it, but for the Heat game, he brought a bag of his Happy Mouth seasoning jerky. So we had jerky to enjoy during the Heat tournament.
It was great.
Man, that was
I'm so sad I missed out on that.
Good tasting one. Yeah, it was good. So you were saying, so you've actually you're going to go there for fun, of course, but you're also doing it to see some new games. And we picked out 2 or 3 games, some very interesting ones, I might add.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. So tell us.
There's a collection of them. Flock Together was one that I saw and had just enough knowledge of from looking at it. It sounds so great. It sounds like and BJ is just talking about taking me down the primrose path all over again here. It sounds to me like it should be Wingspan plus Pandemic together. It's Wingspandemic. It should be.
So this is Flock Together with art from Andrew Bosley. I'm going to punch that up. And from Sea Cow Games, a company I'm not that familiar with.
No, not that familiar, but it seems like it has Pandemic guts. It's got a co-op, and I do like a co-op that's going to be challenging, but I want it to be something where you have an honest chance to compete and then want to do it again when you lose. The artwork on this looks fabulous. The bits and pieces give off that Wingspan vibe to them.
Oh, look how cute those are.
It looks like it should be fab.
Yep. Steve, did you catch that?
And I'm anxious to give it a look.
Gruber.
Hans Gruber, yes. Yes. Yep. Nothing like painful wordplay either. You need that in there.
There's a ton of puns. The whole thing is puns. I saw the booth at BGG Con, and I've been playing games online somehow on BGA with the designer. So he was showing it off, and every little character has a very punny name.
Yeah.
Cluckleberry Finn, Steve.
Mm-hmm. Philip and I might not do anything other than try to invent new characters at this game. We might not play the characters, but we might decide that we just want to make up more chickens.
God, this production is just wow.
It looks fab. I hear that it was played at BGG Con.
Oh, is that right? Or even before BGG Con?
It was played well before BGG Con. Yeah.
I think Logan has some thoughts. So we've established that Steve has a penchant for finding beautiful games with what Logan is sure to tell us is amazing gameplay, because that's he's the name father.
I love beautiful games, and this is no exception. It is a gorgeous game, absolutely, and it's fantastical. But I'm going to be the troll under the bridge here, and I'm gonna crush your soul and say that it's beautiful until you play it. It is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Let me tell you, it is brutal. From from a group of experienced gamers, it was impossible to beat. Like mathematically, we quit halfway through.
So it's a cooperative game.
It is a fully cooperative
storybook game.
Yeah, dude, look, it's gorgeous. I love everything they're trying to do, but I mean, whenever I was looking into it, I have 2 small children, and believe me, if they saw it on the table, Dad, can we play? And I'd want to say yes, but the answer is Dad's not going to play it because Dad can't beat it. So it's an unfortunate truth, but some people really like tough stuff, but tough stuff can't look like this.
Verla, have you beaten it on BGA?
Oh no, we weren't playing this. We've been playing Ark Nova. I don't think this is on BGA.
No, it's not.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, look, if it was anything else, if it was remotely competitive, right? I don't mind losing. I say this all the time. I don't mind losing as long as I'm in the mix and I'm competitive. And this game crushed my soul. It really did. Yeah.
You told me that my soul should brace for crushing, and it wants to not be stomped. So I'm going to ask a question or 3, hoping that the soul can survive. How many times did you
play and prove me wrong, please, by all means.
How many times did you play it, if you don't mind my asking?
Half of a time.
Half. Ooh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
It should not be something where it's obvious to you that there is no hope and fun playing the game.
Not at all, because then it's like there are certain competitive games where I feel that way, we played, what was it, Medieval Times or whatever it was.
Middle Ages.
Middle Ages, yeah.
Logan was about to flip that table.
I'm like, I'm out this dang game. I don't want to play no more. It's that. But it's the game that does it to you. It's not Mitchell, so.
Now, our friend Jeremy has played it more often than just that half.
He's played it twice, but the second time was with us at a full group of 5 because he played it solo just to kind of get the rules down to teach us. And then he promptly put it on his for sale shelf.
Okay.
Which is not something he does lightly, I will say. Even though we both sell a lot of games, that was the quickest I've seen one get up there.
That's a shame to hear. I will give it a look and see what it is. And maybe, I mean, I've had games of Pandemic, for example, where Pandemic is a beatable game. But I've had a game of Pandemic where after two cycles around, we're dead. But we may as well just shove off the deal again.
Yep. Well, look, I'll be
honest, that's an exception to the rule rather than a bug, than a feature of the game.
Like Verla said, they were at BGG. I'd walk by that booth and just kind of duck my head and just,
oh no!
Look, you don't want to talk to me, guy. I'm gonna hide. I would be willing to give it another shot. It's just I'm gonna go in with that grain of salt, knowing that it's not as fluffy and pretty and welcoming as it seems to be.
I'm looking forward to hearing Steve's thoughts. So Steve, go by the booth, try it out, get the
definitely
demo.
Try to check it. It's part of a theme that a lot of the things that I looked at this time go around seem to be like not super heavy games.
It'll make sense later, I'm sure.
It will all come together. This sound effect will be useful from what I hear.
Right. So you were saying part of the theme?
I think a lot of the things that were popping out at me were things that, again, appealed to me in terms of visually drawing me in. And a lot of that had to do with a lot of natural themes and stuff that was coming out here. I don't know what it is, but it seems like there's another cluster of nicely done art visual games that are really going to make me want to stop and look at PAX. And that was one of them.
And I'll tell you this, from being at BGG, there's a ton of gorgeous games, man. The hot games room, everything on the table was beautiful.
Yeah.
I felt bad because as innocent as this game looked, I thought I was Chicken Little saying the sky is falling 3 turns in. It's just, I want to like it. I really do. Mm-hmm. It's just, we've even made Jeremy Dobler, the owner of the game, he made comments on social media, and the developers, made responses and stuff, and they're like, no, that wouldn't help us at all in the slightest in any situation. So, but like I said, I'm willing to give it another shot, but I know it should be a very much heavier game than you anticipate it to be.
Yeah.
Well, that's flocked
I will go in with eyes open.
Yep. Yeah. That's flocked together. Steve's going to give us the report. Hey, BJ from Game Gumbo, I've got my guests in here, Mitchell and Logan, and Steve and Verla and I are getting a recap from Steve, a projection of what he wants to play.
Precap.
There we go.
A precap. The first game didn't go so well, but let's see the second game. This one I do have some thoughts on. It's Black Forest. The new game from Uwe Rosenberg. Steve, what's got you anticipating this one?
This looks to me like it is Glass Road Plus.
Okay.
It looks to me like it is Glass Road, which is a fairly accessible Uwe game. I would say the hardest part of wrapping your head around it is maybe the dial and the resource management stuff. But once you get it, it's a very cool mechanic that lets you be clever in your gaming. This looks like it takes that same stuff and gives you the same idea of, taking down your forests, building up things, making yourself a little village in there. But I'm interested to see what it does differently. If it's just Glass Road, because Glass Road's been reprinted, wasn't changed much. If this is Glass Road 1.5, or what does it do differently? It has my attention, and this is I do like Uwe, and I remember playing this with our dear friend Topher first time and thinking this is not all the Uwe games are high on my list. The idea of feeding your people unless they die, or being overwhelmed for me by a feast for Odin and all of the choices. That Glass Road was the one that said, that's a sweet spot for me. I'd like to see this one and see if it does something different and better.
Well, based on his description, guys, I think we have some good news for him. Now, it's not necessarily a Glass Road 2.0. The only thing I actually own Glass Road, but it's been years. And the only thing I remember about it was that dial. And the dial does resemble Glass Road, but except that there's two dials that you have to deal with. There's two separate dials with resources on it. But I think the way that you described, I think you're gonna like this one. Who's played Black Forest besides me?
Played it twice at BGG. Probably my biggest discovery of the con. I've never played Glass Road, full disclosure. I only like one Uwe game going into this, and that's Etowah. So it was definitely something I really enjoyed, and that dial was something that took a minute to wrap your head around. But honestly, I thoroughly enjoyed this game, and it surprised me. It really did.
Yep. Cool. Mitchell, you played it?
I did not get a chance to play it. No.
Nope. Berla? I did get to play it. In fact, I played it once with Logan. Yep. And man, Steve, I was impressed. I'm a big fan of Adiwa. But before that, it had been a long time since his economic games struck me, going all the way back to Agricola and Le Havre. But this one, I really like it. And here's why I like it. And this is why I think you'll like it, Steve. It's got the typical, we got to build stuff. We got to get cows. We got to make corn, all that stuff, right? You know that going in. It's got those cool dials. And instead of one, there's two of them. And so it's a clever way to manage your resources. You're going to like that stuff. But also it's got this spatial mechanic where you've got to move your workers around, and you can even manipulate the village by this traveling merchant.
Traveling merchant,
yeah. You have this way of it's that Stefan Feld nugget that if the luck isn't playing well with you, you can kind of manipulate it with the merchant. Well, that I'm in, and I just love that mechanic of moving around. It was a spatial puzzle, not only of building out your tableau, which we know Mitchell loves, and then we also have moving around the village. I love building out these little tableaux. I love somebody giving me a 4x4 and saying, "Hey, make your best form out of it." But I also want to move around. I want to slide around. I don't want it to just be one little static place. And I thought it sang, Logan.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It was
so you do
biggest surprise.
You do still have your own private area that you're working with. Now there's a board that you're moving around as a village as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Interesting. So that is a big change.
You're traveling from town to town, looking for different resources, different markets, things like that, all to bring back to your player board to improve it and, engine build essentially.
Yep. Tiny little engine building, we're not talking about the Italian designers.
Do you have the ponds? Do you have the grain fields to, because there's certain spots on the board that let you manifest resources based on the quantity you have in your player board, stuff like that.
If that's what you're looking for, though, if you're looking for like super duper convolutions type games, go to the Italian designers. That's not what this is going to be. This is more, can you manage these resources? Can you turn 3 things into 5?
It's very much resource management. Yeah, I want to go here. Oh, dang, someone went to that city, which is going to cost me an extra resource because now I have to pay them one just to go, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the race aspect too, Logan. It was kind of a race for the biggest point buildings, which I didn't realize. I don't say that. They did tell me that. It's just, I couldn't figure out how to get there. But in the second half of the game, I started to figure that out. But that is Black Forest. I think that's the 2 I wanted to hear. Is there any other one you wanted to talk about, Steve? We got time for one more. There's one.
Let me take a quick peek there. There's a lot of stuff in there that kind of calls out to me.
Give me one. Give me one that you're thinking.
This is one. Okay.
Fromage? I'd like to hear about Fromage.
No, Fromage is one that Kelly's gotten me interested in, but there's one that I've seen being talked about a lot in the Fort Circle Discord, and it's called Molly House.
Okay.
And it is one that represents 17th century England, or 1700s England, 18th century England. And the theme is LGBTQ characters having to be clever with how they move around the city to be able to manage what they want to accomplish.
Yeah, this is the Whirly's new design, Steve.
This is Cole Whirly, exactly. And Cole and Joe, yes, I believe.
No,
is Joe the other person?
Daniel.
There was two designers listed, but I can't remember that. But
you're right. This is not his brother. This is designed by Joe Kelly. Sorry about that.
Joe Kelly and
I thought
Cole
Drew designed it with him, but you're right.
Right.
It's Joe.
But
Kelly.
Listen to this collection of mechanics.
It's Evan.
Push your luck, bluffing and deduction, hidden rolls, multi-use cards, semi-co-op. That is a cluster of things that makes me think, how are they going to come together? And it's quite historical. We're going to have somebody who's coming down with us who is the host of the 20-Sided Gamified podcast who does a lot of historical wargaming stuff. I'll be really curious to see what Jared has to say about this one as a historically themed game. I don't know if it's going to appeal to me in terms of gameplay, but I know I'm rooting like hell for it to be good.
Yeah, it looks like your typical whirligig joint where it's going to be historical. It's going to have very clever mechanics used in different ways. That the element of the kind of social deduction, that's not what I expect from Whirly in his games. So from Cole, but it's interesting. It's one I'd like to play. So.
Yeah, and social deduction and bluffing is usually not my gig. I'm terrible at that, but I want this to work. I want this to be good. Hopefully, this part of my soul remains uncrushed when I get there.
To be seen, right? I don't know.
You know, it is
to be determined.
You know, it is with Cole's designs. Like sometimes they're super clever, and like John Company, second edition, just super clever, super fun. And then you get Oath, and it just it did just not land for us. So hey, look, more power to Cole and his brother Drew, and obviously Joe Kelly. They're pushing the envelope on game design. You know that's what they're about. So that is Molly House. That should be hitting backers pretty soon, if I remember right. But they're going to have some copies at PAX U.
I think so. I don't know if they'll be available for play only or sale. I've only been going through the list for what's going to be there. I have not been paying attention to purchasing or not.
All right, that's 3 games for you out there for PAX U. Hey, anybody that goes to PAX U, say hey to Steve, say hey to the Name Father, and also check these 3 games out and let us know what's happening. BJ from Morgan.